evening, everyone. As you know, my name is Simone. I'm a rising fourth year. I'm a center on the women's basketball team. I am a government major, and I was just recently accepted into the Frank Batten School of Leadership and Public Policy, which is a pretty nice feeling. Honestly, though, it's probably been a nicer feeling for my dad, who has been stressing himself out over my graduate school opportunities since like the day I was born. So, law school is likely in the future, but I'm not going to drop that on him just yet. I'm going to let him relax a little before we start that discussion. But I'd like to start off just by saying thank you to all of the donors who've made my experience at UVA possible. It's really just mind-blowing to me that I'm entering my last year of basketball at the university. It feels like a few months ago that I was signing my letter of intent and buying my Virginia gear on my official visit, but here it is. I am a fourth year, which is kind of scary to say out loud. Overall, it's been an incredible journey that I wish I could convey to you in 5 minutes. It began my first year, stepping on the basketball court for preseason conditioning. And then 25 minutes later, barely being able to crawl off the same court. As a first year, when I heard the conditioning sessions were like 20 minutes, I'm like, all right, got this. Let me show these people what I'm made of. I cannot tell you how humbling it is to have Monica Wright pushing you across the last line so that you don't miss that last sprint. And now, 3 years later, I'm going to be the one pushing the first years across the line in John Paul Jones Arena. After 3 years, JPJ is kind of like my second home, and I never thought 24-hour access to a gym would be something that I would appreciate until like this past year. Academically, this was one of the most rigorous years that I had experienced. In the fall, I had not one, but 2 25-page research papers. And I'm saying to myself, like, overly confident, again, like in conditioning, like, okay, I've got this, it's only 50 pages, like, people write that at night, right? People don't write that in a night, let me tell you. So, thank goodness for the amazing amenities at the university, mostly Clemens, the 24-hour library, the new Starbucks in Gibson Hall, and I spent a lot more of my mother's money there than I would care to admit. Like, seriously, don't say anything to her if you see her, like, I'll be in trouble. With the help of library and said coffee, and of course, 24-hour access to the gym, in which I blew off a lot of steam, playing some late-night pickup games with my teammates. I made it through. I don't think that my years at UVA would be quite what they've been without the bonds of sisterhood that I've formed with those teammates. We've really been through some stuff together, starting with, of course, that dreaded conditioning, to injuries, to those kinds of life dramas that only best friends can understand. They really are my second family, and I got so lucky choosing this university and to be with a group of girls who really just got me and understood. Being an only child, people say I don't understand the word sister, quite like some people might, but I'm pretty sure when I can say to someone, look, it's 2 a.m., I need you to take me to the airport, don't ask any questions, or I'll tell people that Finding Nemo so makes you cry, I understand what sisterhood is. But in my final year on the UVA women's basketball team, I honestly just want to exceed expectations. I'm really blessed to be a part of something so powerful. I realize that I am only 20 years old, and my measure of power is probably slightly different than, you know, an adult who's been in the real world. But when my teammates and I go to an elementary school and meet 10 little kids who know our names and who want to be just like us when they grow up, or we see a mother on the corner who tells us how much her children love watching us play, and the great example that we set for them, I can't help but feel like we might actually be doing something good just by playing the sport we love. I'm really thankful to be surrounded and supported by my wonderful coaching staff who've done nothing but push us to be better athletes and, honestly, most importantly, better people since they stepped foot in the university. And as I start preparing myself for the reality that this is my 4th year and my chance to really make a difference, whether it be to a little girl who wants to play basketball or bring home one of those ACC championships, I know that there's nowhere else I'd rather be doing it. So once again, from the bottom of my heart, I really just want to say thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
The people that, in my opinion, really make this thing work, really make this thing happen, and those are our coaches, the very best coaching staff in the country, not only head coaches, but assistant coaches. Here's another fact. And this was a fact that somebody brought to me, so I can't confirm the validity of it, but it's not too far off. We have 19 head coaches at the University of Virginia. And admittedly, Coach Joanne Boyle is brand new, and we have a new track and field director, we have a new volleyball head coach, we have a couple of people brand new. But the fact I was actually told this about a year ago, that at that time, we had 13 of the 19 head coaches at the University of Virginia who in the last, I think it was 5 years, were either ACC or National Coaches of the Year. Now think about that, 13 out of 19. Now if you take out the 3 that are new, so 13 out of 16, that speaks to the caliber of people that we've been able to attract to the University of Virginia. And as I said earlier, they have come to the university for the right reasons, and they will stay at the university for the right reasons because they believe in their student athletes, they believe in each other as colleagues, and they believe in your university. And one such coach is Tony Bennett, without a doubt the very best fit for the University of Virginia and one of the very best basketball coaches in the country. So please join me in welcoming Coach.
It's hard to believe when he was talking, you know, I've had 3 full years in the ACC and I'm the 4th coach with seniority. I have the 4th longest tenure of any coach in the ACC for men's basketball. There's been so much change, it's unbelievable. We did 3 years and I'm 4th in seniority. We got to knock out Coach K and I see some things never change. All the athletes are sitting in the back of the room. You know, I said all the student athletes, the athletes stand up, they're all back there, just like in class, right? Set way at the back. And Simone, I'm sure Coach Boyle will be very excited that you guaranteed an ACC championship. Coaches love that when their student athletes and their assistant coaches, we got it, no problem. So I think she'll be excited. But thank you for sharing. And this is an important area for us, the greater Washington District area. It really is. When we get to come and share with you guys. Very important for us. I can remember 3 years ago when I just got the job, my family was still out in Pullman, Washington, and being in front of you and not really, you know, knowing what to expect. I hoped. Mr. Littlepage had shared with me, you know, the great things about the school. I had visions of it. But after being here 3 full years, I truly know without a doubt that for me, this is a wonderful fit. This is a destination job. It's a special place for me. I have 2 children and just love it here. So I just want you to know that. And this area is very important for us in terms of all the things, the support that you do for us. I wanted to do something a little different. We'll show this, I'm going to give some remarks, and then we've got a 5-minute highlight video that really captures the season. It's pretty neat that we get to do that, and then I'll wrap up with some questions. But I wanted to give something a little different, maybe something that you haven't heard, some kind of insight into our program. So I'm going to do that, and then after, if there's some questions, I'd be happy to answer them about recruiting and all the typical stuff. But we have something I think that's unique in our program, and we call it the pillars of our program, or the non-negotiables, or the intangibles. It's really the foundation of our basketball program, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of John Wooden's Pyramid of Success. It's very famous. Well, we have these, we call them 5 pillars that really were established 30 years ago. And they're established by my father when he was a coach. He wanted to find a way to give some great pillars into a basketball program that would make sense for the individual player and for the team. They're actually biblical principles, but it's regardless of what you believe, they're sound fundamental pillars that I want to share with you because I think it'll give you guys a glimpse into what our program's about. And they've really stood the test of time. There's probably 10 to 12 teams in college basketball that have these. If you walked into our locker room outside, you'd see a crest with our 5 pillars. In our locker room above the whiteboard, they have them, and there's some teams, Ohio State, Baylor, Butler, they've used these. They've taken these and they've used them, and actually, just to show you, and I'll start talking about them, this is something that, it's so important to us. We say, look, this is the foundation of our program, and I had this shirt made up, and our guys wear these around, and it's kind of a picture, it's like the rotunda, but it's our 5 pillars, and our 5 pillars, and I'll talk about them, are humility, passion, unity, servanthood, and thankfulness. And we say that Virginia basketball rests on these pillars. That's the foundation of our program. And that thing's going to stand the test of time. And those are the things that have really lasted. I just want to explain each one to you because I think they'll make sense to you as I go through them. First one is humility. What does that mean for a basketball player? To us it means don't think too highly of yourself. I always tell our players there's nothing more of a turnoff than arrogance. You walk around camps, it'll turn off the student body, or the grounds I should say. I usually get that right. My first time, I can't believe it. But when you walk around, you know, whether it's to your teammates, to the student body, or to the coaches, if you're full of yourself, it's not good. Now you have to have confidence. There's no question. You have to have a quiet confidence. You have to have that. But over the top is something that's not good for a team or an individual. But the other extreme of that is we say, don't think too lowly of yourself. That's false humility. You know, I sit in front of young men before we go out and play in front of 15,000 people. I look in their eyes and some of them are scared to death. Some of them are afraid to fail. There's so many issues going on. And we really talk about, don't think too low of yourself. Just have sober judgment as a team. Understand your strengths, understand your weaknesses. And as a team, we always talk about, we better know what our identity is. If we don't know who we are as a basketball team, it's the only way we're going to beat the best. And so we talk a lot about true humility. Sounds like a position of weakness, but actually it's a position of strength. That's our first pillar in our program, and it's a big one. Our second pillar is passion. Kind of that idea of being humble and being hungry. And passion, the pillar is do not be lukewarm. And certainly it's easy for our guys to be passionate on game day. I mean, that's something that's natural. Everybody's so excited to play. But we really talk to them about, will you be passionate when you don't feel like it? When it's not easy, when it's in the off season, or you haven't played, or you got your parents, or you got people saying, what's the use? Will you really have a passion to be great? And I think that's significant. And I always share with them, and none of them know who he is, but some of you will know who Ben Hogan was. Probably one of the greatest swingers of the golf club in the game. And someone asked him, they said, how have you mastered the swing? Why is it so good? And he said, simple. He said, it's in the dirt. That was his saying, it's in the dirt. And we've actually adopted that as kind of a workout idea. And he just said, I'd go to the driving range and I'd hit ball after ball after ball, and I'd hone my swing. And I was so passionate about perfecting it, he became one of the greatest golfers of all time. So it's that idea of passion. And that's significant. And then the other flip side of passion is I tell our guys, if you don't love what you're doing, if you don't love to play, it's not going to work out. Because it requires an unbelievable sacrifice to compete at the highest level or to be good. And so we talk about passion. That's the second pillar in our program. Our third pillar is unity. Again, that pillar or principle stands for a house divided won't stand. And that's significant in sports. I think basketball, and obviously I'm a little biased, but it's truly one of the greatest team games. It's a game where you can play against great talent, individual talent, but if your guys are bought in and playing together, special things can happen. And it's a way for a lot of our guys to touch greatness in a way they never would. And that's where we say the sum of the parts. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. I'm sure you've heard that before, but it's significant in basketball. And I'll never forget when my father, he got the head coaching job at Washington State, and at the press conference, I've told this to a few people, he made the comment, he said, well, I've got to recruit a group of guys that I can lose with first before we win. And I didn't understand it quite at the time, but as I've gone through this, as I've been a part of rebuilding programs, that's significant. Because if you have the kind of guys that when adversity strikes, if they'll really stay together, if they won't let the house get divided, if they'll handle all the things come at them, by the time they become upperclassmen or they get mature, they're going to have a chance to do something special. But if they're the kind that once it gets rough, they jump ship, well, you're not going to have much. So we preach to these guys and talk about unity. Are you unified? Because that's a strong thing. And obviously just the way you share the ball, how you play. I look at the San Antonio Spurs in the playoffs. A bunch of old guys. I mean, they're killing these guys. They just move the ball. They play together. It's such a concept that's rewarded, I think, in sports, but definitely in basketball. That's our third pillar of our program. Our fourth pillar is servanthood. And again, that's something, again, we talk about that the way to greatness is through being a servant. And in today's society, that's a hard thing with young men. They have so much stuff coming in their ears about you got to be the best, you got to pound your chest, it's about you. And we really talk about, will you be a true servant to help this team? And one of the things we share with them is I'll share this story. And again, regardless of what they believe, but I'll say, you know, it's a biblical principle. I share the story of the Last Supper. When Christ was with his disciples, he had 12 guys, and he had been with them for 3 years. He was about to go and be crucified. And what's the last thing he did with them? I think that'd be an important message. I always tell our guys, if you have one more thing to share with your guys before you're not going to be with them, he washed their feet. And I remember, they're like, what are you doing? But he went and washed their feet, and he said, because I'm your master, I'm your teacher, you guys need to go and do likewise. So we talk to our guys a lot. Will you be a foot washer? Will you serve your teammates? Will you truly, kind of that idea of we over me, will you be a servant? Because again, you look at like, well, the people, the Mother Teresa's, the Gandhis, that's powerful stuff. And when you can get young men buying in to this idea of, I'm going to serve. And again, roles are different. Getting guys to accept roles is tough. But true greatness, we gotta say, is through being a servant. How we treat the managers, how we treat people in our program. And that is something that, again, is significant. And then our last pillar. Our last pillar is thankfulness. And again, it's that idea of truly being thankful for the opportunity to attend a university like Virginia. You know, one of the neatest things is when Mike Scott said, someone asked him, I was next to him on the podium, they said, what's one of your greatest moments of being at UVA? He said, when I got my degree, when I graduated and I knew I'd get it. And he meant it. He said that was amazing. He got to walk this Sunday. He was so proud of that. And he was so thankful for that opportunity. But we talk to our guys a lot. They should be so thankful to play at a school like Virginia, to represent you guys, thankful for the opportunities provided for them. And then the flip side of that we talk a lot about is, will you be thankful for what you learn through adversity? Because to me, that's where I think life's greatest lessons are learned. When you go through adversity, when we lost to Miami last year in the conference tournament, we're up 10 with 42 seconds, and we collapsed. You know, are we just going to say, it's a fluke, Or are we going to use that for motivation in the offseason? Are we going to take the times when we've got our ears pinned back and say, you know what, I got my butt kicked, but I'm going to learn through that. And will we be thankful for the lessons that adversity or losing teaches us? And we talk, because fortunately, when you're building a program, there's a lot of those lessons out there. You get them. Trust me, we faced them, and we got one against Florida again, didn't we? So, but that idea of thankfulness. So those really are our pillars of our program, and they mean a lot. And they're not just lip service. Like our guys, they really believe in them, and they make a difference on the floor. We can almost, when we come in off of a game, if we violated one of those pillars or principles, we can point to and say, we forgot who we were. We did not play with passion. We were selfish. We didn't help each other out. You know, it's a great way to remind them, and of course, their life values. So the first practice, October 14th I wrote on the whiteboard the initials TAY, and I told their team, I said, this is what this season's all about. I said, this is what it's going to be about. I said, we have enough depth. At the time, I thought we had the depth. We didn't have the depth. I said, we got enough experience. I said, it's time, and this is what this season is going to be about. This is going to be our turnaround year. That's what I told them. That's what it stands for. I said, it's a turnaround year. It's much better than such but I did, and I can't tell you to be a part of that. To be with those guys who are kind of long-suffering, and just to say, hey, we're going to do something, we're going to take a step, we have what's in place, and I really challenged them, and that was special. And actually, they showed a clip of the band, and I got to remember this, we have 2 band members in attendance tonight, and we have a 3rd year and a 4th year. I don't know where you guys stand up, please. You guys never get the attention. Guys, stand up. You guys talk about being a servant, and honestly, that's what you guys do. You don't get a ton of attention, but you just serve and you make the atmosphere. It was great this year at JBJ, and I understand it's Sandy's birthday, and I was supposed to say happy birthday to Sandy, the mother of our young man. Happy birthday, Sandy. But I do just want to close and tell you how much I appreciate your guys' support and what you do. And again, this is a very important area, and I can. 3 years ago, remember, I think we had 3 or 4 coaches up here, and I remember Dirk talked forever. I do remember that the first 3 years ago. But I just remember now being here and very thankful. When I look at our principles, that's huge to me. And again, I hope to keep turning this thing, and we're bringing in the right kind of guys that represent the university well, and that's significant.